Welcome back to Stat 7 Sports. We're back with part 2 of the draft analysis, the pre-draft analysis, where we're going over every position's top 5, pros and cons. And this time we're going with the skill positions on offense, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Starting off with the running backs, to where we'll start with the Doak Walker Award winner for the past 2 seasons, Jonathan Taylor. Now, at Wisconsin, through all 3 of his seasons, he has become the lead focal point of their offense for the fact that they have struggled to have any sort of passing game, have struggled to have a consistent quarterback at the helm, and not really much in the way of wide receivers, even though they've had a solid offensive line, which does help for Jonathan Taylor's yardage through all these seasons. Being able to get over 6 yards a carry through all 3 seasons, and for the fact that he ran the ball 300 times plus in basically all 3 seasons, with his freshman year just being at 299, and all of them besides that freshman year going over 2,000 yards, which is really unheard of. And if he had stayed along for his senior year, he could have broken some Big Ten, if not NCAA records. But at this point, it really wouldn't have done him that much of a NFL draft quality grade, for the fact that really he's already been shown to be a quality blocker. He's already been able to show that he's a patient runner and has good breakaway speed with a 4.39 40. And throughout all this time, he's gotten over 900 carries, and he has been healthy through this entire time for the most part. And he's able to build off of the holes that their strong offensive line be able to give. And like, they're a strong run blocking team. Pass blocking has been hit and miss, but some of it is Jonathan Taylor just finding holes, making the line look better. But that's one thing Wisconsin's been kind of known for: strong running game and strong offensive defensive lines. Not really that much spectacular outside of that, but really Taylor is as much of a stud that they've had in a while. That seems as close as a sure thing for a running back in this draft, because he's been durable, even though he's had an SEC-like workload for the fact 926 carries. That's crazy for a 3-year career in college. But if you also think about it, 18 fumbles in college. Yes, he has a bit of fumbleitis. So whenever he runs with his ball kind of up high and kind of near shoulder high, so it can get bad out that way. And a lot of times he's going through dive plays. He's going right up the middle. So there is a good chance where there's just going to be punches, like little punches thrown by the defensive line and all that, being able to punch the ball out. So he's got to be able to get a better hold on it, just at a bit more of a consistent manner. And outside, the one thing he built on with his junior year, freshman and sophomore year, he had 8 catches apiece. Junior year, 26 catches, not really that much of a receiving threat yet, but it's something that you can see, at least from that last season, he can build upon and bring it into his repertoire going forward. Then you go on to almost the exact opposite. DeAndre Swift, maybe the best receiving back coming out of this draft, if not for some certain running back out of LSU coming up. But that doesn't mean he wasn't a quality runner. Despite the stats, he kind of took a little bit of a step back this season, where towards the latter part of the year, he had injury issues at that point. But before that, 7 yards a carry freshman year, 6 yards a carry in sophomore and junior years, and his yardage, like his amount of yards, went up each year. He was a consistent threat in the passing game, always consistently 17, 32, and 24 respectively in his 3 years. And he is a very explosive runner, where it's like he can, but he's not really one that can give a good explosive push. Like, he's going to battle for like 4 or 5 yards, but just like you're not going to get too many negative gains out of him. He's able to at least minimize the loss available. But because of the fact that his vision is very good to be able to fit through tight quarters between the offensive linemen, between whatever holes they make, the Georgia offensive line has a bunch of 4 or 5 star recruits. So just like Andrew Thomas, one of the top offensive tackles in this draft, where he's been able to find holes to be able to help. And he's going to be able to be a 3-down back for the fact that he is a strong block, that he is strong being able to protect both Jake Fromm and Jacob Eason whenever they are available, and Justin Fields for the fact that before he transferred to Ohio State. But that will be next draft. Although there are some factors for the fact that, latter part of the season last year, he is a small but very kind of wide-bodied back, 5'9", 215. Like, you're not going to get him to really break away from anyone. He's probably just going to be the consistent, like, 5-6 yard carry guy. He doesn't have the breakaway speed that Jonathan Taylor has, but he is going to give yardage. He's not going to give anything too great. He's not going to give anything too poor. So he's probably going to need to be a kind of a complementary back to where he'll be a receiving option, but there's going to be another running back that will end up becoming in need. That's why I think Kansas City would be a good fit for him, for the fact that Damian Williams could be the rusher between the tackles guy, and DeAndre Swift could be the receiving back out of the backfield. But he's going to get his yardage, and that's going to be about it. Then you go with really the first in this last playoff, J.K. Dobbins, which he kind of showed up big time, went over 100 yards against Clemson, and if he didn't get injured in that game, you could have seen an LSU Ohio State national championship game with Burrow going against his old club. But really, he was a model of consistency, over 1,000 yards all 3 seasons, and added usage through freshman, sophomore, junior year. Kind of a lackluster sophomore season, not even getting 5 yards of carry whenever both his freshman and junior. He was still the bell cow running back and still got nearly 7 yards of carry. But his production in the red zone increased every year. He stayed consistent with his receiving action. No matter really who was the quarterback, between Haskins, between the time Burrow was the quarterback, the time between where Justin Fields is. And really, he's one that's able to end up reading through like a zone read option, be able to follow his blockers and be able to find the gap as off the line shifts one way to the other, being able to see the hole through the D-line coverage, being able to kind of cut on a dime and be able to make that jolt in between the lanes and be able to go for a good 9-10 yards with a small gap. Now, the problem is just for the fact that, yes, he did get consistent receiving options, but a lot of it's either going to has really been like wheel routes, or it's going to be screen passes. Not really too much more than that. So while he has been a receiving threat, he's been where he's going to be located on the field whenever he's receiving is been predictable. It's been predictable, and he's kind of been lackluster on pass protecting, so not really showing he could be a 3-down back in this case. as of now, but he has solid size and hasn't, like, outside that national semifinal game, really hadn't shown any injury waivers. But then now you go into probably the best receiving option of these running backs. And y'all know him. Y'all love him. Especially this picture on Xavier McKinney of Bama. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, the one knock that's going to be on him, and really with everyone in the LSU offense, is there's a very stark increase of production off of one single season that we will all enjoy. This 2019 season, everybody's stats got shot to the roof and beyond, and it's kind of hard to see if the production is going to be based more off of how good Burrow was, how good Joe Brady's system was with Steve Ensminger, or with how good they actually are as players. With Helaire to start at this point, they barely used him his freshman year. It was really Nick Brissett and Darius Geis at that point. Then in 2018, it was Nick Brissett with Helaire getting more of a carry back on it, but where he got a good bit of a production on the ground. Not really too much in the air, but he was thought to be a solid receiving option at that point. But yeah, nearly just over 650 yards rushing. But then with so many options in the LSU offense, they really were 5 deep on options between their running backs, wide receivers, and tight end. And Edwards-Helaire, who was thought to end up losing his position at any point during the season for the fact that they had a 5-star recruit in John Emery, another 4-star recruit in Tyrion Davis-Price, and the fact they had Chris Curry, another 4-star that really didn't get on the field except for the Oklahoma game, that national semifinal game. But he exploded on the scene just like everyone else. Their draft stock skyrocketed to where Edwards-Helaire probably will be at best a second-round pick and probably at worst a third. But 14 yards, 6.5 yards average, 16 touchdowns, 55 receptions. That leads the nation for running backs. Sure, only 1 touchdown in the ones against Bama, but still. Now, for him, for the fact that he is only 5'8", about 220, it's good and bad for him, where it's like he's going to be able to stay low, stay balanced, be able to kind of push off his feet and his low body weight, be able to just kind of dip and dive away from defenders, and he has very good footing to be able to end up kind of toe tapping across sidelines on receptions, and because of his size, he'd be able to get 3-4 yards, especially on short yardage runs. And sure, one thing towards the end of the season, they kind of kept him away from being a blocker and more just as a receiving back, or just because there's more options. They kept 5 in the backfield. But for the first 3/4 of the season, they let Edwards-Helaire be. The main reason that he stayed on the field is because he was a better blocker than anyone else on the LSU running back crew. So they found ways to get him the ball, running the ball, receiving the ball, out of the backfield, in the slot. He had plenty of options on getting his production, and that's going to be one that's probably he's going to make a roster. He's probably going to be a second teamer for them, at least his rookie season, potentially being able to move on to something further on to be a starter. But he does, kind of just like DeAndre Swift, he doesn't have that really breakaway speed that's going to, that's going to end up just giving you the dynamic touchdowns, being able to get the 40, 50-yard gains that that's going to end up bringing you along the top line of those running backs. But you can almost say this on the fact for every running back in the league, they're going to have durability issues because you end up going, you pretty much go too deep on running backs no matter what franchise you have. Even when you had Todd Gurley at his best, you had Malcolm Brown as a backup. Now they have Darrell Henderson as a backup. With the Saints, you have Alvin Kamara. Then you have Latavius Murray as a backup. Then so on and so forth. Maybe Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott might be a little bit of exceptions. But, yeah, kind of an undersized running back. In the open field, he has maneuverability, but he doesn't have that straight line speed burst to break away. So the corners and safeties going to catch up, and some linebackers are going to be just at his speed. So bigger side people are going to be able to end up catching up with them. And now for the last of it, another 5-star recruit out of high school, Cam Akers. Now, this was kind of tough because one thing with Akers, yes, he had over 1,000 yards protection his freshman year. Sophomore year, he kind of dipped down, but that was kind of Florida State as an entire team. Only 700 yards, and then kind of built himself up back to the quality that he was having his freshman year with double the touchdowns rushing and double the receiving yards and receptions and more production really than both of them in both rushing and receiving. So Florida State's offensive line and any sort of protection that they had, any sort of offensive scheme that was available was a complete wreck. So it's kind of the middle and grounds where it's like you have to wonder how much of it was off of Akers himself. Was it his fault that his production wasn't well? Or was it just some of the protection, some of the blocking for him was just so poor that he wasn't going to be able to get his stats to match or exceed that freshman year until Willie Taggart, Willie Taggart, their coach, ended up leaving, and he just got fired after his junior year, because his freshman year was with Jimbo Fisher, and at this point, these past 2 years have kind of been a rebuilding form for Florida State, usually a national power, but not really since Jimbo left. Now back to Akers himself. He may have the best receiving repertoire outside of Clyde. He is a bit. He doesn't have the issue of Swift and Edwards-Helaire being undersized. He was able to get his quality production without the quality blocking, and he's a very elusive guy, being able to jump cut. He has enough power in his legs and enough push with stiff arm to be able to get by equal-sized defenders and smaller defenders, be able to shove off corners and safeties. So he's not a bad back. Where he's going to have a problem is ball security, where they put a lot on his shoulders for his entire career, really after really at the point after Jameis left. They had 1 year of nothing, and then Akers comes on, and it's kind of his show until it's not. So the good and bad on Akers is, for someone who has a bad offensive line, Akers is someone who has shown that he can be productive, if not stellar, in the lackluster situations. But he has fumbled the ball 12 times in his career. Not as much as Taylor, but Taylor's had much more consistent production throughout his career. So Akers is probably going to end up being I'll say late second, maybe mid third round pick. And Oh, wow, that actually took longer than I expected. All right. And with that, that's the end of the wide. That's the end of the running backs, and we'll actually leave that there. I'll go with wide receivers going tomorrow. Yeah, I thought I was actually going to do all all of the skill positions in one day, but I think I'm actually going to do position by position, just small videos off of this because that's still going 20 minutes long. But if y'all enjoyed this, please like, please subscribe. I'm going to do a lot more. I do a lot more NFL draft content. Go through the rest of this, all the positions. Just kind of give you a little quick run through of who you should expect to see in the early on portion of the draft, and just maybe some sleepers you might be able to see that could surprise as rookies and in the NFL. And after that, you'll get. I'll have a mock draft that'll. I'm only going to do one mock draft unless something drastically changes. But thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, share this out to other people. And this is Contain Kunas. This is Stat7 Sports. I'm Contain Kunas. See y'all next time. Wow, that was bad.